The C&M Seeds Wheat School is brought to you by Bear Crop Science. We're here today on RealAgriculture.com. We're with Peter Johnson. He is with OMAFRA. He is the provincial cereal specialist. Welcome today, Peter.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Okay, Peter, wheat harvest is underway in Ontario. We're off to a decent start. How much of the province has been harvested so far?
So it moves extremely rapidly. As of Tuesday, we thought we were probably in the 40% harvested range, and the combines rolled Wednesday, so we're probably over half done now. We get a good day today, and we'll push probably up to 60%. It just astounds me how quickly that we can accomplish harvest in this province.
Yeah, what have we seen for yields so far?
The yields have actually been very, very good, above average for most people. Many people that are only getting average yields end up saying, yeah, but we did something wrong, or it's on our worst field. So I will be extremely disappointed as it stands right now if we don't manage to break over 80 bushel per acre for a provincial yield average, and we certainly are hearing some outstanding yields. Actually talked to 3 different growers who have had yields of 135 bushels per acre or more, so quite excited about where we're going from a yield standpoint.
Basically, when that crop came out of the winter, it looked fantastic. It looked great through flag stage. It just continued to, it never really felt any negative pressure, did it?
No, actually it was pretty iffy in the fall because we planted late and the fall was just average. So going into the winter, we weren't feeling all that comfortable, and I would have said that we would struggle to make our trendline yield. But a mild winter, an early start to spring, a lot of growers were able to jump on the crop early and help it out. And then, as you say, from there on in, for most areas, not all areas, it's always tough when you talk about the whole province, but for most areas, just kind of kept chugging along, got moisture when it needed to, not tremendous disease pressure from a leaf disease standpoint most places, and where we did have leaf disease, hopefully growers were controlling it, and the crop just looked better and better.
So does this kind of blow away any seeding date rules that we have based on the fact we seeded so late and the crop has been such a high yield?
Absolutely not. In fact, the early planted stuff is the stuff that is yielding 135 or 140 bushels or 110 bushels per acre. The late seeded stuff is still doing way better than we should anticipate it doing, in that 80, 90, 100 bushel range, but there's still a big yield benefit to planting early.
What about in the U.S.? We've heard from the land that has been harvested there, they've had very large fusarium vomitoxin issues. What's been the experience in Ontario so far?
Yeah, so all those U.S. millers better come to Ontario for quality wheat this year, because so far 95% of our crop does not have fusarium levels that are of concern. Now, I always have to be careful with that. There are a few hot spots. There certainly have been a few loads that have had 2 or 3% fusarium damaged kernels, and so that is getting into the feed category. But most of our wheat is in very good shape, and growers need to jump on it and get it out of the field immediately so that we don't give it a chance to slip and let that fusarium grow. I just can't emphasize that enough.
So what is the reason that we have such low fusarium levels this year?
So I think we for the most part, we lucked out in that a lot of the crop headed out early, and so the early crop, we didn't have the rainfall prior to heading. Fusarium is a really intriguing disease, and you need rainfall in the week prior to heading, basically, in order to set the fungus up that's in the soil to sporulate when the wheat crop heads out and pollinates. And in much of the region, we didn't have that initial, if you want to call it kind of predisposition so that the fungus could sporulate, and that gave us lower fusarium levels than we might have otherwise had. I still have to be careful. There are areas that do have fusarium, some of the later maturing wheat, and remember, we're at the early harvest. We expected it to be good. It is good, I hope that's the story all the way through harvest, but some of the later harvested wheat is at more risk, and we may see fusarium levels sneak up as we go through harvest. Our spring wheat crop, certainly it was at very high risk from that standpoint. We're 2 weeks away from harvest there, but we may see higher fusarium levels in the spring wheat than we would like to see for sure.
So we basically have half a harvest left. Is there something that farmers need to be looking for, concerned about, have their mind wrapped around as we head into the last half of harvest?
Yeah, the big thing that growers need to have their mind wrapped around is don't delay. And as I said, I can't stress that enough. A really intriguing thing about wheat is that after physiological maturity, which is 28 or 30% moisture, only bad things can happen. And the first time the wheat dries down, the kernel is smooth. And so you get the highest test weight that first time on the dry down curve. And it doesn't have to get to 14% moisture for things to go wrong after that. If it dries down to even 18% moisture and then it re-wets and goes up to 24% moisture and comes back down to 18, you will have lost test weight. One instance in particular where the grower was rained out of the field and went back 2 days later, so only 0.4 of an inch of rain, back 2 days later, lost 4 pounds per bushel in test weight, went from a 65 pound per bushel test weight to a 61 pound per bushel test weight. Another grower that I talked to got rained out of the field 3 times. Every time he lost at least 1 pound per bushel, and in one case as much as 3 pounds per bushel. We've done some work on that in the past. It's absolutely real. Every rainfall reduces the quality. Get it out of the field.
Okay, Peter, thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Excellent. Thanks, Sean. Have a great day.